Well, folks, thanks for joining us again today and for putting up with the fact we were not broadcasting yesterday, being it was a holiday. Look, there's a ton of stuff. Please stick with us today. I'm going to go through it quickly. There's world-changing stuff that's been going on today. Thanks to the new watchers and listeners who are joining us from Canada and from the United States. We're trying to continue to expand this new show, day-to-day, stock all day, day-to-day news, giving you insights on things that are happening behind the headlines. And some of the things we talk about do get suppressed by platforms like X and by other mainstream media, but it gives you the launch pad to really get into some of the stuff that's changing our world all around us. First off the top, big news coming out of the International Olympic Committee, where Dr. Jane Thornton has, who's part of that committee, that has announced, after years of study, brace yourself for this, this will probably shock you and rock you, they have found out that even though men go through surgeries and have certain parts cut off or chemically adapted, they generally tend to still be stronger than women. You know, my 7-year-old grandkid knows that, but it took a while, I guess, or it's taken a while for others to realize this. So because of that, the International Olympic Committee has said definitively there will be changes announced. They're going to come out with it in February, but it's going to be moving significantly to restrict transgenders from competing against women, so that it'd be biologically born males are going to be restricted, at least at the Olympics, from competing against women. This is such a good thing, so obvious. And I say now's the time for, you know, people who, they've always taken the argument for the transgender folk, well, it's terrible because they're going to feel excluded. They don't have to be excluded. There should be an open category when it comes to athletics, wide open. Anybody can come in, transgender yourself, do whatever you like, and have true competition. The people who get excluded when you allow biologically born men to compete against women and girls, it's the women and the girls who get excluded. It's their hopes and dreams that they, from growing up until you know, as they get older, they dream about competing around the world and winning the medals for their country or for their city or province or state, and they're the ones being deprived and robbed by this ridiculous policy of allowing biologically born men to compete against women. So glad to see some changes there. The fascinating thing there is how little coverage that's getting, especially in the intensely culturally Marxist Canadian media. The CBC, at the point of last night when I posted this, wasn't even wanting to cover it. Folks, when you're making your choices about what media you want to consume, try and get media, including this podcast, that at least touches on both sides of view, both points of view on an issue, and not the culturally Marxist who only are allowing the extreme left view to get through. So just a thought there. The other thing that's going on right now that is of real concern is the so-called, what's called COP30, the environmental UN-based discussions that are going on right now in Brazil. And this is to gear up and really force countries to stick to whatever they said were going to be their 2030 goals. So that's where we get the COP30 from, related to environmental reductions. So much has happened. There's been so many incredible advancements and breakthroughs since the Paris Agreement years ago, and yet we're still applying some of the old scare tactics and the old paradigms, telling people that, you know, the world is about to end because of emissions in the atmosphere, and so much has changed. But those who are holding on to the old science, which is really saying that almost any kind of production or technology should be shut down because we're killing the environment, those things are proven to be not true. But we're still, and Canada is still a leader in clinging to archaic environmental restrictions, while other countries move ahead, and I'm going to talk about this in more detail, with fabulous breakthroughs and innovations in all kinds of living and life. And Canada is going to be stuck to these old and outdated environmental restrictions that we've put on ourselves. One of the few countries that's sticking to these, and one of the countries that's going to be most impacted, and one of the countries we are right now, and have been for years, that least impacts the environment overall. It has been said, and looked at scientifically, that if every possible emission that comes from Canada and Canadians, that includes even breathing, if all Canadians were to stop breathing, if all cows were to stop passing gas, if we shut down every single bit of emission production anywhere in Canada, it would have less than a 1% effect on global emissions. So we're starving ourselves and depriving ourselves by clinging to scientifically outdated tests and guidelines. COP30, it's not too late. Call your member of parliament. Tell them, hold off, back off, don't make commitments that are going to be harmful to Canadians, or harmful to Canadians right now, and are not even helping the environment anyway. Now, go along with that, and you've probably seen and heard that the Prime Minister Carney, has announced what he's called a Buy Canada policy. And look, I don't like the tariffs. I don't like the tariff wars. They don't help companies. They don't help countries. So, I share the frustration. But going from bad to worse is not going to be helpful. So when you impose on Canadian industry and Canadian consumers a Buy Canada, that means if you got a big contract, you're moving ahead in some way of technology, you have to buy products from Canada, regardless of if there are better technologies and products elsewhere. I'll just use AI as an example. Some of the phenomenal products, AI products and systems that are coming out of Canada are really world level, but many products too that we need, whether it's developing our defense industry, whether it's developing our high tech or our cyber industry, whether it's developing exploration into cancer research. Companies and organizations that get funds from the Canadian government, if they are only allowed to buy Canada, we're going to be in some cases, restricting Canadians from having access to the best AI products in the world, the most innovative products, the most job-creating products. It may be well-intended, this Buy Canada thing. It sounds nice, especially to socialist parties that love to promote this kind of thing. It's going to impoverish. A strict Buy Canada policy is going to impoverish. We need to take another look at that. Please take another look. As we also look at how this policies affecting our mining industry, for years, we have had, that industry has been so overly regulated and so bogged down with negotiations, the ability of First Nations group to stop projects going ahead when there are other First Nations group that want those projects to go ahead. We have just bound ourselves up in so many ways, and we are depriving not only Canadians, but we are depriving other countries of precious metals, of critical metals, and we have allowed, Canada has been a significant problem here, we have allowed China to surge ahead in terms of controlling the world's resources when it comes to rare earth, when it comes to critical minerals, even things like powering the iPhone that you look at every day or whatever product you use. We've got to change those policies and move away. I'm going to tell you, there's a country right now that is leading the world, has completely overtaken Canada and will overtake Australia in terms of iron ore development, in terms of providing the necessary elements for steel products. And that country is Guinea. They have discovered in Guinea their resources there in terms of the products used for iron ore, a very, very high-grade iron ore deposits, probably higher grade than anyone else in the world. So what does that mean? So you got a high-grade iron product, big deal. Well, the big deal is it takes far less energy to develop that product and to provide what's necessary for some of the massive, gigantic data centers that are going to be needed around the world. And that means they'll be able to produce and do their mining with far less impact on the environment. It's going to be the country of Guinea. Every analyst, organizations like Standard & Poor's, their mineral division, and they evaluate what type of industry is going to help various countries. They all predicting the country of Guinea to be surging ahead because countries like Canada, we've put so many restrictions on ourselves in terms of how to produce the types of steel and the products and the aluminum that we need, that we're allowing a country now to move ahead, a country that is, and I have no issue on the religious side, but this is like a 90% Islamist country. And we can talk all day long about human rights and about the rights of women and the rights of marginalized people. So we're allowing countries that don't respect any of these rights to the same degree that we do to move ahead economically, and not just move ahead economically, but to move ahead in a way that their products are actually helping the environment. We've got it completely backwards, folks. We need to be demanding of our governments, of our government here in Canada. And look, I know this is going to sound political, but if you want to keep voting left, keep voting center left, keep voting Liberal, keep voting NDP, they're the strongest supporters of these policies which now don't even make scientific sense. These policies that will hurt and deprive generations of Canadians, these policies that will deprive the world of our quality products. Keep voting for those parties, and we'll continue to vote for our ongoing impoverishment and depriving the world of great products. We need to really give our heads a shake, folks. Even areas of aluminum where Canada has always been a world leader, the production of bauxite, which leads to aluminum. And I can remember way back in school, grade 5, being told how Canada was leading the world in bauxite production, which would help in aluminum products. And we're even losing our position there. Let's link up with true science. Let's get rid of the heavy over-regulatory burdens. Let's work with the First Nation groups who understand, who get it, who are not simply obstructing for the cause of instructing. And let's quit impoverishing Canadians. By the way, on the Buy Canada party or policy of the Liberals, so what are we going to do now? For instance, great news that as Warren Buffett ages out, I'm not saying that's great news, but just as he is getting older and he's taking his hands off of the day-to-day activities of Berkshire Hathaway, he has appointed a new CEO, a guy who's been known for quite a while by the name of Greg Abel. Guess what? Greg Abel is Canadian. A Canadian is going to be running that massive portfolio, the world-changing portfolio of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett. And how do you think he's going to be in terms of recommending huge investments into Canada when there's a Buy Canada policy, which means that Canadian tech firms may be not able to access the best products and systems in the world? Everything to do with this Buy Canada policy is going to be hurting us. And as we see, so the alternative that Prime Minister Carney is proposing here is let's move away from being closely aligned with the US and let's align ourselves closer to China. China, which has horrific human rights policies. China, which is one of the world's largest polluters. I don't care any way you want to shape it up, despite their propaganda to the otherwise. How about this? Just yesterday, China told Apple, with their huge platform, of course, which is worldwide in all areas, AI and everything else, China has told Apple that they have to shut down. There's a couple of dating sites on the Apple platform, which are followed by hundreds of millions of people, a couple of gay dating sites. And China has said to Apple, shut down those sites. There'll be no gay dating sites in China. And here we have Prime Minister Carney saying, hey, let's draw closer to China. Which policies exactly, Prime Minister, are you wanting to support from China? And this unfortunate, sad notion, let's not have anything to do with the U.S. Look, the U.S. are tough negotiators, and we don't like tariffs. And we've got to negotiate the best deals possible for Canada by going head-to-head, nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe with the U.S. in negotiations. But drawing closer to China to rebuff the U.S., it's going to hurt us in so many different areas. Another area on terms of Buy Canada. Many Canadians may not have heard of Nathan Ough. O-U-G-H is how he spells his last name. Different people pronounce it differently. He is very significantly involved, a principal at a company called Volta Grid. Volta Grid a real breakthrough company in terms of developing naturally gas powered power units. Now, I'm not talking about a generator for your home. I'm talking about natural gas power generators that can run an entire grid, huge grids that are going to be needed again for the ongoing data centers related to AI. And using natural gas, using these products which will sell, these generators, which are going to be gigantic in terms of their capabilities, and lower emission reductions because they're using super refined natural gas. Now, he's a Canadian. His company's Canadian, but it's being more and more bought out, and it's now partnered. The principals are in the U.S. How's he going to respond to a Buy Canada policy? Where's he going to be buying the natural gas from if we're doing this ridiculous policy of the Liberals and Prime Minister Carney? Please rethink that policy. It's not going to be helpful. It's going to hurt us. Let's take a quick look at some of the things happening in the world of culture. We talked a couple of days ago about the fact that the major AI companies and the major, whether we're talking Meta, whether we're talking about OpenAI, these gigantic countries that are companies that provide visual pleasure, if you want to call that, on the screens of literally billions of people, how they are more and more reaching to young people, to kids, especially with their highly sexualized material. But it's not just that. One of the biggest cosmetic companies in the world has developed a product. It's called Rini, R-I-N-I. It's a Korean word, and it's developed a facial product for, yes, you guessed it, 3 to 7 year olds. For girls as young as 3 to 7, it's a facial product so they can do like their moms do. And I'm not going after the issue of women using facial products and masks that really help their complexion, but it's now being marketed because the little girls watch their moms. So for 3 to 7 year olds, you can buy these cosmetic masks that you can put on to get away your 4-year-old wrinkles. You can buy for a package of 3, it's $7. Like, are we comfortable with this? Are we happy the way this trend is going? If we're not, then you know what? Back away a little bit from your screens. Back away. More and more people, it's becoming a bit of a worldwide movement now, are getting their kids off of their screens, limiting them to an hour or two a day, and just for studies and just for communications maybe with friends. You need to be thinking about this, folks, because at every level and every arena possible, our young kids are being invaded by all of these various elements. And is it making our kids more self-sufficient? Is it making them stronger? Is it making them more thoughtful and creative? I don't know. Let's think about that. On the sports scene, we've just had, as we know, the last few weeks, the cheating scandal in the NBA, widespread cheating, and showing how people, even who bet on these games, have probably been deprived and cheated out of millions of dollars because of the players, the vast number of players in the NBA who are cheating and doing fraudulent activity. And now the sad announcement that in Major League Baseball, people may not realize, people who aren't regular gamblers may not realize, people don't bet just on games. You can bet because you've got your instant device right in front of you as you're watching the game. You can bet on an individual pitch that's coming up, that a pitcher is going to be throwing in a matter of seconds. You can click and bet whether it's going to be low ball or high ball or strike. And it's now been discovered that pitchers have been involved in cheating and actually deliberately throwing certain pitches that they're being paid to throw that will be advantageous to insiders on the gaming market. So even the beautiful game of baseball, I know what they say in Europe, the beautiful game is soccer. Some of us think otherwise. Look, that's why, I'm a sports fan. I played sports when I was younger, still play sports. I love watching a good game. But when I turn on the television and I watch, even with the World Series, the what I think is the level of insanity of fandom, where fans are they're willing to die for the team, and the way they're willing to almost want to attack other countries, when you look at how people, I mean, it's freedom of choice. You know, paint your face up all you want and put on your big colorful wigs and chant and scream and be prepared to die for your country because of baseball game. Look, I like sports, but the insane limits that people are going to promote their own team, who is largely a group of multimillionaires who will move from your city as soon as they get a higher offer somewhere else. Let's enjoy the game, but let's not lose our minds, folks. So as we head into the day, folks, it's batter up and have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.